subscribe.
Okay, the lengths in centimetre of the sides of a triangle are 3x minus 5, 2x minus 1 and x plus 1. The perimeter of the triangle is 31 centimetres. Work out the value of x. So what you need to do is form an equation and then we're going to solve it. So remember, for perimeter you add the sides up. So that's what we're going to do. We've got perimeter equals 3x minus 5 plus 2x minus 1 plus x plus 1. And then we're going to collect like terms. So we're going to circle the x's with the symbol to the left. That gives us a 3x plus a 2x plus an x. So that's 3 plus 2 is 5 plus another 1 is 6x. And then we're going to put a rectangle for the numbers with the symbol to the left. So that's a minus 5. That's a minus 1. And that's a plus 1. Plus 1 minus 1 will cancel. And then you're just left with a minus 5. So we've got the perimeter is 6x minus 5. And we've been told the perimeter is 31. So we've got 6x minus 5 equals 31. Now we've just got to solve an equation to find out x. So if we plus 5 on both sides, that now gives us 6x is equal to 36. Now if we divide by 6 on both sides, that will give us x equals 6. And you're done. Okay, pause the video and have a go at your question. Okay, so your question says the sizes of the angles in degrees of a triangle are 2x plus 9, x plus 13 and x minus 8. Work out the value of x. So we know angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So we need to make sure that when we add all three of these, they add up to 180. So you've got x plus 13 plus 2x plus the 9 plus x minus 8. And then we're going to collect like terms. So remember, we're going to circle the x's with the symbol to the left. So we've got x plus 2x plus x. That gives us 4x. And then we're going to rectangle around the numbers with the symbol to the left. So we've got 13 plus 9, and 13 plus 9 equals 22. And then we're going to minus the 8. That will give us 14. So we've got 4x plus 14 is equal to 180 degrees. And then we're going to do a solve an equation by minus 14 on both sides. And that gives us 4x on the left hand side by itself. 180 minus 14. 180 minus 14. Remember, it's calculator paper, so you can use a calculator. Is 166 degrees. And then we're going to divide by 4 on both sides. So we've got 166 divided by 4. Therefore, x equals 41.5 degrees. And you're done. Okay, here are the first 5 terms of a sequence: 9, 14, 19, 24, and 29. We need to find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of the sequence. So step 1, just see what the sequence goes up in. 9 to 14, you add 5. Check the next one, 14 to 19, that also goes up in 5s. So quite simply, above our sequence, we're going to write 5n, and we're going to do a 5 times table. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Our 5 times table is not the same as our sequence we've got here. So from this 5, how do we get to 9? Well, we have to add 4. From this 10, how do you get to 14? Well, we need to add 4. So you've got your 5 times table, which is 5n, and to get to the sequence underneath, we just had to add 4. And that's it, and you're done. Okay, pause the video and have a go at your question. Okay, so it says, here are the first 5 terms of a sequence. You've got 17, 14, 11, 8, and 5. Find the next term of this sequence. Well, 17 to 14, you're minusing 3. 14 to 11, you're minusing 3. So hopefully you can see that it's minusing 3 each time. And it asks you to find the next term of this sequence. So you're just going to do 5, take away 3, and 5 take away 3, and we'll just give you 2. The next question says the nth term of a different sequence is 10n squared plus 5. We need to work out the fifth term in the sequence. So we've got 10n squared plus 5, and we want the fifth term. So quite simply, where your n is, you're going to replace that for 5. So n would equal 5. So 10n in maths means 10 times. So we've got 10 times 5 squared plus 5. And remember, you need to follow BIDMAS or BODMAS, whichever one you prefer to use. We've got 5 squared, which is 25. So that gives us 5 squared is 25. And then we've got 10 times 25 plus 5. And 10 times 25 is 250. So then we've got 250 plus 5, which gives us 255. And you're done. Okay. So the two triangles ABC and PQR are mathematically similar. Angle A is equal to angle P, and angle B is equal to angle Q. AB is 8, AC is 26, PQ is 12, and QR is 45. So as soon as you see the word mathematically similar, you know it's a similar shape question. So we need to calculate the length of PR. To do that, what we need to do is find a corresponding side, such as 8 and 12, and we need to find the linear scale factor. So we've got 8 to 12. We want this in the form 1 to n, so we're going to divide by 8. That will give us 1, and then we're going to do 12 divided by 8. And remember, it's a calculator paper, so you can use your calculator. So 12 divided by 8 will give us 1.5. And the 1.5 is your linear scale factor. So now we're going to go to calculate the length of PR. So the corresponding side is AC. So we're going to go 26. And remember, when you go to from a small shape to a larger shape, you times by the scale factor. So we're going to do 26 times 1.5. So we've got 26 times 1.5. That will give you 39 centimeters for PR. Now, question B, you're going to calculate the length of BC. So the length of BC is this side, and you're going to get the corresponding side on the larger shape. So this time you're going from the larger shape to the smaller one, so you're going to divide. So we're going to do 45 divided by 1.5, which is the linear scale factor. And that gives you 30 centimeters for BC. And you're done. Pause the video and have a go at your question. Okay, so you've got a similar shape question as well. BE is parallel to CD. AB equals 9 centimeters. BC equals 3 centimeters. CD equals 7 centimeters. And AE equals 6 centimeters. Calculate the length of ED. The first thing I would do is resketch this shape so you've got two separate triangles, because at the minute it looks a little bit confusing. So I've got the smaller one, which would be A, to B, and then to E. And that is 9 centimeters, and the right hand side is 6. And then you've got the longer version, which is point A to point C. And you've got 9 plus the 3, which will give you 12. You've got the base from C to D, which is 7. And then we can go and try to tackle the questions now. Calculate the length of ED. So we need this length here. So again, we need corresponding sides. So you've got 9 and 12. And you're going to find the linear scale factor. So you're going to go 9 to 12. You're going to divide it by 9 to get it to the form of 1 to n. So that'll give you 1. And then we're going to do 12 divided by 9. and 12 divided by 9 on your calculator will give you 1.3 recurring. It's important that you remember the 3 recurring. So now we're going to go from the small shape to the larger shape with a corresponding side, and we're going to times it by 1.3 recurring. So you've got 1.3 recurring times by 6. That gives you that full length A to D is 8. But they've already give us A to E, which is 6. So that would just be 8 minus the full length 8 minus the 6 for the top bit. That would give you E to D is 2 centimeters. So this question at the top is 2 centimeters. Now what we need to do is calculate the length of BE. So we're going to do this question just over here so it's out the way. We need to calculate the length of BE. So we've got the length of CD, which is the corresponding side, and we're going to try to find BE. So remember, we're going from the larger shape to the smaller one. So quite simply, we're just going to divide by the scale factor or the linear scale factor of 1.3 recurring. So we've got 7 divided by 1.3 recurring. And that will give us 5.25 for question B. So 5.25 centimeters for that. And you're done. So Leanne invests 2,500 for 4 years in a savings account. She gets 3% per annum compound interest. How much money does Leanne have at the end of 4 years? So remember, when you're looking at compound interest, you need to try to find your decimal multiplier. So if you had 100%, you add the 3% to it, which will give you 103%, and that as your decimal multiplier underneath would just give you 1.03, sorry. So now you set up your question, 2,500 times your compound interest amount, which is as a decimal multiplier 1.03, and then to the number of years, which is 4. Hit that in your calculator exactly as you can see on the screen, and you will get 2,813.77 to 2 decimal places, because remember you're talking about money here, so that'd be 77 pence, and you're done. Okay, pause the video and have a go at your question. Okay, so Annie invests 9,500 for 5 years in a savings account. She gets 1.8% per annum compound interest. How much money does Annie have at the end of 5 years? So if you had 100% plus 1%, that would give you 101%, and as a decimal multiplier, that would be 1.01. So therefore, using that same idea, 1.8% would give you 1.018, and that is your decimal multiplier for the 1.8% compound interest. So you start with the amount in the question, 9,500, times by your compound interest, 1.018, and that to the number of years would be 5. Hit that in your calculator the way you see it on the screen, and that to 2 decimal places will give you 10,386.34 when you round up. So on my calculator, what I can see is 0.339, but remember, to 2 decimal places, the 9 rounds the 3 up, so that's why you get 34 pence instead, and you're done. So number y is rounded to 1 decimal place. The result is 19.3. Write down the error interval for y. So quite simply, because it's to 1 decimal place, you've got your unit 0.1, and whatever unit you have, you just half it. So you'd half that and you'd get 0.05, and you would minus that for your lower bound, and for your upper bound you would just plus it. And what that will give you is y is bigger than or equal to, and y has to be less than. So 19.3 subtract 0.05 will give you 19.25, and if you plus it, that will give you 19.35. and you're done. Video and have a go at your question. Okay, so a number y is rounded to 2 decimal places. The result is 1.26. Write down the error interval for y. So quite simply, again, your unit is 0.01 to 2 decimal places. If you half that, that will give you 0.005, and for the lower bound, you're going to subtract it. For the upper bound, you're going to add. So you start off with y is bigger than or equal to, but less than, and then that will give you 1.255, and that will give you 1.265 when you add, and you're done. So it says factorize 15y minus 6. So the first thing we need to do is find the highest common factor for both terms. So we've got 15y and 6. So the highest common factor for both of those is 3. So you're going to put 3 on the outside, and then you're going to draw a bracket. How do you go from 3 to 15y? Well, you go 3 times 5 will give you 15, but you want 15y, so it's a y next to the 5. Then, how do you go from 3 to 6? Well, when you expand the bracket, you'd have to do 3 times a 2, and that would give you 6. However, you want a minus 6, so that's going to be a minus 2. And that's it. You're done. Okay, pause the video and have a go at your question. Okay, so it says factorize fully 13x cubed plus 12x. So step 1, find the highest common factor. And we've got 30 and 12. The highest common factor for both of those is 6. And then just be careful, here you've got x cubed, which means x times x times x. And here, for 12x, you've just got an x. So a common factor for both of those is just a 1x. So we can pull that out as well. So now you've got 6x on the outside. You're going to draw your bracket. 6 times 5 will give you 30. And we want a 30x cubed. So we've already got an x here, so we need to times it by the remaining x squared to give you x cubed. Then we've got 6x on the outside. How do you get that to become a 12x? Well, you're going to times that by 2, and 6x times 2 will give you 12x, and that's it, and you're done. Okay, so we've got 2.36 times 10 to the negative 4, and you need to put that as an ordinary number. So what I like to do is put 2.36, and then for the 10 to the negative 4, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your decimal place, and you've got 0.000. Rewrite that neatly, so that's going to be 0.000236 as an ordinary number. To write 127,000 in standard form, you're going to put 1.27, because remember, for standard form you need to be between 1 and less than 10, and then you're going to times that. Well, if we're at 1.2, which is there, we need 5 digits to get to the end, so it's going to be 1.27 times 10 to the power of 5. Now we need to work out 5 times 10 to the power of 2 times 7 times 10 to the negative 4, and we need to give this in standard form. So you would do the 5 times 7 first, that would give you 35. And then we would do times 10 to the power of 2, and remember index law of multiplying indices, you add them, so that's going to be plus minus 4. And a plus and a minus gives you a minus, so that ends up being 2 minus 4, which would equal minus 2. Now you've got 35 times 10 to the minus 2, and if we put this out, that's going to go back once, twice, so this answer would actually give you 0.35. However, 35 is not in standard form, so we would put 3.5 times 10 to the negative, and just be careful here, we need to readjust this, because if we want to get to this final answer, 0.35 from here, we only need to jump back once now, and that would give us 0.35. So our final answer to get 0.35 is just going to be 3.5 times 10 to the minus 1. And that's it. Okay, so let's have a look at the question you've been given. Write 1.63 times 10 to the minus 3 as an ordinary number. So you've got 1.63. You're going to go back once, twice, 3 times, and then you're going to put 0.00, remember above the little hoops, and that gives you 0.00163 as your ordinary number. Write 438,000 in standard form. So remember, it needs to be between 1 and less than 10, so that's going to be 4.38. And if our decimal is there now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits, so that's going to be times 10 to the power of 5. Work out 4 times 10 to the power of 3 times 6 times 10 to the negative 5. Give your answer in standard form. So again, we need to do the whole numbers first. 4 times 6 is just going to give us 24. Times 10 to the power of 3. Remember, when you times indices, you add them. So that's going to be plus minus 5. 3 plus minus 5 is going to give us a minus. That's going to give us 3 minus 5, which is going to give us 2. So now we're at the point where we've got 24 times 10 to the minus 2. And remember, this is not in the standard form, so we're going to readjust it like the last question. So that's going to be 2.4, so now that's between 1 and less than 10, times 10. And because we've moved the decimal point back, that means we only need to move back in total 1 space for our final answer, and that's what we've got there.